Good to see your faces. Everybody pumped up and ready to go? Did you grab your Alani this morning? Are you still working on your coffee, iced coffee, hot coffee, whatever? Are we ready to go? Yes, that's what I like to hear. Hey, if I'm a new face for you, my name is Jess or Jessica. I honestly never know how to introduce myself because I go by both of them. So call me whatever you want, just not Jessie. I don't go by Jessie, okay? I'm Jess, Jessica, whatever. Just a little bit about myself. I'm a servant leader around here. I work with our Inspired ministry sometimes, which is our women's ministry. And I'm just really actually passionate about digging into God's word and just talking about it. So I'm so excited to be here today doing that very thing. A little bit more about me. I'm a wife. I'm a mom. I've got my family right here with a picture. My oldest son, his name is Jude, and he's 14. My middle is Indy, and he's 12. And my little wild one, Phoenix, he's 9. You know, to be quite honest, I feel like God just gave me such a gift with my little son, Phoenix, because he is so carefree and just doesn't care what people think. And I feel like that was me as a kid, but I just learned to put on all these layers and cover up who I really was. So just to have him in my life just reminds me that my inner child and just to be carefree. And that's what I'm doing here this morning. I'm just putting myself out there. I mean, this is vulnerable for me, and I love doing this. So I'm happy to be here. But the honest thing is that picture is my true happy place. Like, it doesn't matter where we are or what we're doing. If I'm with those people, I am in my happy place. I could be sweating my brains out at a baseball game, but I just love being there with all of them. So, like I said, that's my happy place. We've actually been in a conversation about being truly happy. We've been walking over the last couple weeks through the book of Matthew, which is where a really famous message is found, and that's called the Sermon on the Mount, one of the most famous messages of all of history. And it was Jesus who gave this Sermon on the Mount, and he walked around to places all around his region and area, and he talked about life things. Like, I like to think of the Sermon on the Mount as like life hacks. And he does not hold back. He talks about all kinds of things. I don't know if you've been here over the weeks, but we've talked about lightsabers and salt. I mean, like, that's what I got from that message. Be a lightsaber in the world, okay? We've talked about being salt and light. We've talked about when you're happy when you're mourning. You're happy when you're persecuted. You're happy when you're poor. We've also talked about adultery and lust and murder and all sorts of things. Like, he is just like no holds barred, okay? And so, but I think what he did that for is because he says all of life is really important. And I want to give you keys to how to experience life the fullest. And so we're gonna discuss all the nitty-gritty parts of life. And that's the conversation that we're gonna continue to have today in Matthew 6. So if you wanna get a head start and go ahead and flip there, or on your phones, go ahead and go to Matthew 6. That's where we're gonna be starting today, because Jesus continues on telling us how to live a happy and a full life. He knows what's best, but what we've found out over the last couple weeks is that it's often a little backwards than what we originally think. It's a little upside down than what we think. He goes around and talks about the kingdom of God is like this, and we're like, huh? Because it seems so countercultural, so subversive to what we're living. And today, if you've turned there, you know today we're gonna be talking about giving and praying and fasting. And I don't know, if I were you, I'd be like, what's so upside down about that? I mean, like, those are really good things. But I think he's gonna unpack something really powerful for us today. So we're gonna start at Matthew chapter 6, verse 1. And I'm gonna be in the NLT version. If you're over here and I hate it when I don't know what version we're in and we start reading words and I'm like, these are not the right words. So we're in NLT today. And we start out with chapter 6, verse 1, and it says, watch out! I hope you're awake now. This is Jesus speaking right now. He says, watch out, don't do your good deeds publicly. We're stopping right there, because there's a lot to unpack right there even. He's saying, be careful. He's not like screaming at us like I just screamed at you. As a father, because he's been referred to as father quite a bit in the passages before this, he's saying, I want you to be careful, okay? He's inviting us to listen in, to kind of turn our ear. Like, what do you want me to be careful about? He says, be careful when you do your good deeds publicly. I don't know if you were here a couple weekends ago, but we talked about being salt and light. And if I recall, it was like, do your good deeds so that everyone can see you. Why hide your essence and your light under a bushel or a lampstand and just put it out for everybody to see, right? So he said, do all your good deeds publicly. But now he's saying, be careful, don't do your good deeds publicly. What is it? This is the beautiful thing about Scripture, walking line by line, verse by verse. These kinds of things start to bubble up and we can ask, hey, wait a minute, didn't you just say, I thought you said do that. Now you're saying don't do that. Listen, Jesus isn't playing a 2,000-year-old joke on us, making sure that we're actually listening and paying attention. He's saying, I have something to say about this. I did say do it publicly, but now I'm gonna warn you of something that goes on when we do our good deeds publicly. And so we finish that verse. It says, watch out, don't do your good deeds publicly to what? To be admired by others. Say that with me, to be admired by others. Or you will lose the reward from your Father in heaven. Listen, he's bringing to light something that's really important for each one of us to understand. He's addressing something that is buried inside every human heart, and that is to be admired by others. If you don't trust me, try reading a book and relaxing around a pool with a 9-year-old. Mommy, watch me. Mommy, watch this. Mommy, oh, no, that's not what I meant to do. Mommy, watch this. Mommy, watch me. Mommy. The thing is that when we become adults, we might not as vocalize it so openly, but it's still there. It's hidden inside every human heart, and he's bringing it to light. And he's saying, hey, there's this factor at play that behind all of our behaviors, behind all of the things we do, behind all of the things we say, we're actually chasing something. We're on a pursuit. We're chasing something, whether that's approval, wealth, admiration, meaning, identity, purpose. We are all chasing something, and he's pointing that out because that's what he wants us to pay attention to. Listen, we've talked about happiness, and I don't know about you, but it just seems like it just doesn't stick around long enough. Anybody else? Like you're happy one moment, you're bored the next. I mean, like, can I get a little bit of a congruency here in my life? Because what ends up happening with the things that we chase is that it feels a little bit like wind. We can see that wind is happening. We see it by the leaves on the trees, or we feel it on our skin or in our hair. We can see it, but if someone says, okay, capture it, that's impossible, right? Happiness and the things that we're chasing seem the same way to me. Like, I can't quite grasp it. Like, I want it, but I can't quite grasp it. It's like the thing, I can feel purpose, like I just got a new job and like I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to, but then the next minute something happens, our circumstances change, we lose confidence in this area because of feedback, and we're like, yeah, I thought I had purpose. Or I feel like I know who I am, but then something happens and we're like, yeah, I'm back at phase 1. Because it seems like it's just like sand that slips between our fingers. And for me, I'm like, well, then what's the point? I don't know if you feel like that. Like, is there ever gonna be a way that I can really hold on to the things that I'm after? Is there ever a way that I can actually deeply experience something so that it sticks and I'm living it every single day? Is there a way that we can actually capture what we really want in life? And listen, don't Jesus juke me right now and be like, well, I have Jesus, I have everything I need. Okay, Martha, but there's all these things that we're trying to uncover and we're trying to know about ourselves so that on that chase, on that pursuit, we're going in the right direction. Because listen, whatever we're after, whatever we're seeking, whatever we're chasing in life is often a temporary fix to a deeper problem. Let me put it this way. We try to get heavenly things out of earthly places. We try to get the approval, but we go to an earthly place to get it. We try to find meaning, but we go to things and materials. We try to feel a certain way, and we go to the things that don't last in order to fill us up. There's this verse in Jeremiah, and it says, "The heart is deceitful above all else. Who can understand it?" But then I have never, ever realized that this verse comes after it. It's God speaking, and he says, "But I, God, I search and examine the heart and the mind. I get to the heart of the human. I get to the root of life. And guess what? I see things not as they pretend to be, but as they really are." That's good news for us today. It's good news that we have a good God that's concerned about our motive, that's concerned that we're asking the questions behind our actions and the things that we say. He's saying, hey, I actually see things as they truly are, not as you think that they are. Because so many times in our life, we can build an image, we can erect an image of ourselves that we want people to see about us, but God sees the heart. And he meets us there, and one by one tries to untangle this big knot of desires that we have. Today, in this scripture, he's asking us to examine our motive behind our actions, even the good ones, the giving and the praying and the fasting. He's asking us, even the good things, the things that you do for good for you and for others, those are not susceptible, or those are susceptible to even false motives. Listen to me, just get this. The problem isn't the behavior or the things that we do. The problem isn't even the desire that we have for chasing validation, peace, knowledge, all of these things. Those aren't the problem. The problem is, where are you going to feel the things that you're chasing? Where in life? Is it a person? Is it a thing? Is it a habit? Where are you going to feel the things you want to feel? And he wants to meet us, and he wants to dissect this with us today. So we're going to be going to verse 2. Matthew chapter 6, verse 2, it says, "When you give to someone in need, don't do as the hypocrites do, blowing the trumpets in synagogues and streets to call attention to their acts of charity. I tell you the truth, they have received all the reward they will ever get." We're going to be jumping around a little bit, but we're starting with this thing in giving. He starts talking about giving, but listen, he's not talking about tithing only. He's talking about the act of generosity. He's addressing just being generous. Like, we can be generous in way more ways than giving to the church. We can be generous by being kind to strangers, to those we know. We can be generous offering our time and advice for a friend or a coworker that might be in a crisis. That's an act of generosity. We can give to people who are in need, that kind of like it just pulls on our heartstrings and we give to them. He's saying, I want you to be careful and examine this act of generosity. He's saying the hypocrites, he was referring to the Pharisees of that time, which were looked at as the religious do-it-alls, and they had it all together. They were morally good. From the outside, they looked like they had it all together. And he's saying, but be careful, because they're doing it to be admired by others. And then he talks about the same thing when he talks about praying. We skip over to verse 5. It says, "When you pray, don't be like the hypocrites who love to pray publicly on street corners and in the synagogues where everyone can see them. I tell you the truth, that is all the reward they will ever get." So he talks about prayer. Now listen, I doubt that us in this room are just chomping at the bit to go to the corner of gender with a microphone or a megaphone and be like, "You're all sinful. You're going to hell. You need to repent and turn." No, we don't walk around wanting to be like that. But we might walk around wanting people to see who we're connected to. Because that's kind of what he was saying that these hypocrites were doing. They were going to street corners and they were asking like, hey, I've got a connection with the big guy. If you ever have a prayer request, come to me, because I know him. Have you ever been friends with a name dropper? Yeah, so-and-so, we went golfing on Saturday, and I hit I don't even know what the golfing terms are, but have you ever, posted a picture of your besties, your big old family, #blessed? Those things are not bad at all. The question is, what are you trying to get out of it? Here's what happens is when we show people who we're connected to, it tells the world who we are. Who I'm connected to shows you that I'm admired, that I'm liked, that people want to be around me, right? And so he's saying even these motives that can have good intentions can be done for the wrong reasons. And then he talks about fasting. He goes into verse 16 and says, and when you fast, don't make it obvious, as the hypocrites do, for they try to look miserable and disheveled, so people will admire them for their fasting. I tell you the truth, again, that is the only reward they will ever get. Listen, fasting is all about sacrifice. How many times do we say little things because we want people to know how much we're giving up? Like, I haven't slept in years. Translation, I'm up all night giving all of my needs and attention and energy to a little human, which yes, you should be doing, but I want you to see how hard this is. Or maybe, pray for me, I'm on week 3 of Whole30. Translation, I'm doing something really hard. Notice, comment on the way I look, like, do something, okay? Like I said, not bad things, just questioning the motive. And I do this all the time. Do you ever wonder why you do that? Like why you say the things and why you do the things and why you want to be seen? Not that we only have like this deep human desire that we're trying to connect to. It actually just feels good. I mean, just plain and simple, it feels good. It's called dopamine. We've all heard of dopamine before. There's been so many different scientific studies on it lately. It's actually just the biomechanical mechanism inside of our bodies that's kind of like the internal high five. Like, yes, I feel good now. Did you know God created that in us? Like God created us to experience highs. I mean, that's a picture of a good God, right? Like food, like I'm dreaming of like a pizza, and just, He created that inside of us, but here's the thing that we need to know about dopamine, that it actually reinforces behavior. It's connected to our behavior, and he wants to point this out. He's saying, you're going to the places that you go because you want to feel good. I actually put that inside of you. Like, I know that when you get here, you feel high, and then what does it do? It just crashes, right? And it reinforces behavior. So the more times that we go to that place to feel the way we want to feel, our brains lock in and connect the behavior to the reward, to the dopamine rush. And so when we're feeling low, we're on autopilot because we've had these grooves created in our brains through habit, and we just end up going this direction, and we don't even know how it got there. Have you ever pulled out your phone because you don't want to look like you have nothing to do in a doctor's office, or like you're just waiting for a friend, you don't want to feel awkward, so you pull out your phone and the thing, like it's like autopilot. You like open up social media, you open up Instagram, open up Facebook, whatever, and you just start scrolling. That's because there's grooves in your brain that are created by the dopamine that you receive when you go to those places. It's like, why? It's a habit. It's wired in us. And what we find out is that we go to those places, we wonder how we got there, like I feel this way, and that's when our motive shifts. See, that's the really tricky thing about motives, is that we can have good intentions, but midway, on the way to the reward, we're just chasing a neurological pathway. Like, to be quite honest, I got off of social media about 3 years ago because I didn't trust my motive. I started asking myself, like, I wanna share the things that God's, like my family, and I wanna share this, and I wanna share this. And I could post with good intentions, but as soon as I got that like, the reward hamster wheel started again. I could never trust my motive. I tried getting back on. I'm like, yeah, still there. Like, hopefully if I stay away from it too long, then things will be rewired. But it hasn't changed. Anytime I try to go back, I'm like, I just want to share the things of my life. But then I have to ask myself, why do I want to share the things of my life? Why do I want all of these people to see the highlights of my life? Like I said, not sinful, just human. And that's what a good God is saying here. Be careful. Analyze your motives. Ask deeper questions. But here's the deal. Since Jesus knows this about us, he created the dopamine inside of our bodies. He's saying, I have a new way for you. He's just given us these 3 examples. So whenever Jesus points something out the same way 3 times, I think he's trying to tell us something. He's saying, don't be like the hypocrites that do this. Don't be like the hypocrites who do this. Don't be like the hypocrites who do this. But he doesn't just leave us there, thank goodness. He's like, I have a new way for you. And he's saying, come with me. Because long before the term neuroplasticity came to the science world, which is just a really fancy way to say that God can actually, or our brains can rewire themselves. They can create new neural pathways. They can change. Jesus knew how to be rewired. And he starts laying that out for us in verse 3. In verse 3, he says, but when you give to someone in need, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Give your gifts in what? Private. And your Father who sees everything will reward you. And then he says the same thing about praying in verse 6. Oh, did I just read verse 6? I did just read verse 6. He says the same thing about giving, and then he says the same thing about praying, and then he says the same thing about fasting, that when you do fast, make sure that you're doing it with the right motives. Like, he's like saying, like, girl, go wash your face. Put some clothes on. Don't look like a disheveled mess. Like, don't do all of that outside, like, but retreat and be with me and close the door and be with me because the Father who sees everything will reward you in private, in secret. So he's saying, when you go away by yourself, shut the door behind you and pray to your Father in private. He's setting this pattern for us. In all 3 of those scenarios, he's setting a pattern for us, and that is to retreat, to withdraw. You might be saying, Jessica, I have no time to do that. I hear you. And I don't think that he's talking always about a physical retreat and a physical withdrawing from people. Like, he doesn't want you to be weird and go lock yourself up in a prayer closet for 24 hours, 3 times a week. No, he actually wants you to be the salt and light of the world. He wants you to get out and go in public, okay? He's saying, I want you to come away with me. I want you to withdraw with me, even if that's creating a space inside you that is welcoming me. We just sang about that, dwelling place. Create in me a dwelling place, a place that you can move, a place that I can rest, all of these things. He's saying it doesn't always have to be the physical act of withdrawing or retreating. It can also be a place that you're creating inside your heart. Maybe that's just in the stillness of a morning before everything gets going and everything gets noisy, or when you lay your head on the pillow, just asking God, what does that inner life look like? Because here's what he wants us to see, is that the secret place is not where you hide, it's where you heal. The secret place with him is not where you withdraw and cut people out or isolate. It's where you heal. It's how I've made your bodies and your minds to heal in me. And this is what he's laying out for us. You might be asking, well, okay, what do I do? I want everybody to close your eyes for just a minute. We're gonna do a little exercise. Set down some phones or whatever. Close your eyes, and I want you to picture yourself in your favorite place. It could be beside a stream, on a hike, your toes in the sand at the beach. It can be in your favorite spot in your house, cozied on that little corner of your sectional. And I want you to envision your life kind of swirling around you in the air, suspended, all the things in your life, the chaos, the feelings, the good ones and the bad ones, the deep dread inside your belly sometimes, the schedules, the noise, the comments, the feedback, the spaces that you hold for others, maybe. Envision all of that just swirling around you like you're inside of a big snow globe. And all of a sudden, everything starts to fall very slowly, kind of settles down like a leaf floating down, and it starts to settle at your feet. Kind of just drops. What does it feel like for you to see all of those things not be in front of you and swirling around your head like a swarm of bees, but to be down and on the ground? Does it feel like you're relieved? Like there's a big sigh of relief, like, oh, I don't have to hold this anymore. I don't have to keep all these plates spinning? Or does it feel a little too quiet? It feels a little uncomfortable because I'm used to all the noise. And then Jesus steps into your scene. Notice what he looks like, what it feels like, what you feel like. Notice how you feel. Notice the things around you and notice him. What is he doing? Or how does he look? You can open your eyes. This is just a really small taste of the kind of interaction that he desires to have with you. No expectation, no performance, no do the dance to get the thing. And I wonder if you, outside of today, maybe put yourself back into that space and go revisit it and see if the things that have fallen, see if he wants to pick some of those up and have a conversation with you about them. My snow globe settling happened around 2020. And to be quite honest, when I was describing how do you feel, like, do you feel naked? Do you feel like this is a little too uneasy? That was me. I mean, the world was shutting down. Life was too crazy. I felt like it was out of control. I feel like I had to be holding down the fort for my kids and for myself. I really probably wasn't in a very good space mentally. Everything was just, it was too overstimulating for me. I think God helped me out a little bit in settling my schedule, right? And then everything else after that just started falling to the ground, and I just felt naked. Like I felt like I don't know what to do. Like I don't know who to be. I don't like this. And around that time, there was mirrors that I felt like went up all around me. Like I was in a hall of mirrors, and I was terrified because I didn't like what I saw. I was helpless. It was ugly. I was staring into some dark places. The thing about silence is that a lot of times when the noise dies down and we get to a place of retreat, a lot of people bail. It's too hard. It's too hard to be alone in my thoughts. It's too hard to sit in silence. It's too hard to see the things I don't want to see. Why do you think I have such a busy schedule? Why do you think I'm always connected to something? Why do you think I've always had the TV on, the radio in my car? All of these things is because it kind of clouds up our vision so we don't have to look inward. But that is where I learned that God wanted to meet me. And I reached out to a trusted friend and I said, I'm looking in the mirror. I don't like what I see. Can you help me? And what she did was she just encouraged me to go back to the silence, to go back to the retreat, to go back to the withdrawal, because she knew that was where I was going to heal. I wasn't gonna heal by going to this person to affirm me in this. I wasn't gonna heal when I reached for my recognition over here. I wasn't gonna heal like that. And she knew this about God and she knew this about me. And she told me to embrace the silence. And I wonder if that's what Jesus is asking us today. Here's what I found out. That God most often speaks in whispers. He doesn't shout. He doesn't compete with all the noise, not because he can't, but because he won't. Have you ever had a teacher that uses their whisper voice to get everybody's attention? They're scary. It's because we listen. And God's not a distant God. And he said, I'm not gonna do anything. I'm not gonna talk to you until you get alone and still, because he can shout over, he like laser focus. He can drop something on us and we just like, yeah, I feel that. But what I have found is that my healing and my growing most often comes in the whispers of God. I think that's how he wired us, because in those whispers, he's able to say, I'm not asking for your performance. I'm asking for your presence. I don't want you to perform for me. I want you to be with me. Because the second he has to yell above all of our noise, we're back on stage again. Doing the thing, doing the dance to get the thing, right? So Jesus isn't asking us to perform and act like we have it all together and do all the good things and have the right desires. He's asking, just take some time to get away with me and start creating this dwelling place with me. Because when he gets us there, he doesn't just put us there to sit us in timeout. Someone might need to hear that today. I've had that image of God before. He wants to put me in timeout and say, look at your motives, these are wrong. No, he says, I want to whisper to you who you are. He says, I don't want humankind to define you. I want to define you. He's a jealous God and he's after your heart, and he wants the opportunity to tell you that you are loved. He wants the opportunity to tell you, I'm proud of you. He wants the opportunity to say, everything that you are is good because I created you. He wants the opportunity to speak into your life. He meets us in that quiet place. You know what we do sometimes? Let me ask you this. Have you ever created a friendship, like a best friend friendship, by just thinking about them? Yeah, I thought about them a lot, so now we're best friends. Have you ever had this deep and thriving relationship because you read about them? Like you stalk them on Facebook or Instagram and you're like, yeah, we are. No, that's silly. Have you ever made a best friend or like had a deep relationship with your spouse by just standing as close as you can to them? No. Why do we think that God would be the same way with us? Why do we think that if we just say, oh, I read about him a lot, like we're really close? We can do that. Well, why do we think I can just show up at church because he's there, and like if I get there, maybe there'll be some symbiosis, infusion in me, and like I'll be close to God, and like, yeah, we have a good relationship. Or, oh yeah, I think about him a lot. Like when good things happen, I'm like, thanks God. No. He's saying, I want to have a conversation with you. I want to start doing some talking. I want it to be two-way. I want you to listen, and I also want you to say words. Because here's what I know about saying words and saying things out loud is that we actually tell ourselves it's true. And just like he said, I have a way to rewire you, and that is by retreating. He says, I have a way that we can start this conversation when you're in that quiet place. Because he's given us the Lord's Prayer. I'm always so mind blown when there's something like that's really well known like that, like the Lord's Prayer, and I'm always like, wait, it was here? That's where it was introduced? After he's talked about giving and fasting and praying, like that's when he slips in the Lord's Prayer. Why? Like it's such a weird context. But I believe that he put it there to give us words. Anybody show up to God's doorstep and like, I don't know what to say. I feel like that all the time. And he's given us a template for words to say to him. In verse 9, he starts the Lord's Prayer and he says, pray like this. He said, our Father in heaven, may your name be kept holy. He's asking us to call him Father. That was really weird for this time because he was Lord and he was God and he was Yahweh. But he's saying, let's start with a conversation. It's like you're having a conversation with your dad. And man, I wish that we could all have really healthy examples of fathers on earth, but this is a good invitation for God to say, hey, your father might have missed the mark, but I'm a good one. He says, our Father in heaven, may your name be kept holy. This is a great way to start out a conversation with him because it puts into perspective his role and your role, right? It puts the pressure off of us that we don't have to be set apart, that God, you are holy. You're set apart. You're in control of all things. You're in charge. He's saying, start like that. And then he says, may your kingdom come soon. There's been a lot of talk on God's kingdom, which is really just a fancy way of saying the way that God intends things to be. Anyone else like me think, yeah, I want God's kingdom to come to earth. Like I want things to happen in heavenly places and happen on earth. But here's what I tend to think. He's interested in doing that to everyone and everything around me, but he's not interested in doing that in me. Anybody think that? I think that so often. I can get so caught up in like, oh, he's doing that in that person's life. Oh, he's working miracles in that person. He's healing that person. They've been blessed by finances. Like, he's interested in doing all the things around me, but is he interested in doing anything in me? Can I just tell you this morning? He wants to build his kingdom within you. That's where it starts. It's not just a bunch of Christians walking around. He say, I gotta get with you in a conversation. I gotta start working with you one-on-one because I have big plans for you. I have big plans to build my kingdom inside of you so that when you do return to public, you can return there with a freedom of who I've created you to be because I've built my kingdom inside of you. Then he talks about give us today the food we need and forgive us our sins. This is a great talking point for God because I think sometimes in my daily life, I'm like, well, I don't have this and I really want a better car. I really want a better house. I want that. Why can't I have this job? Why can't I go on this kind of vacation like they do? Oh, this prayer reminds me just to look what I have in front of me. Focus on the things that he's given me, the things that he's provided in my life, Because that's the thing, God's a personal God. When we were just closing our eyes, he was speaking in 500 different ways. Because each one of you has different circumstances, different scenarios in your life, and he met you in your life. And he's interested in jumbling it all up and saying, let's work at this. I've got something really great planned for you. He's a personal God. And then he says, don't let us yield to temptation, but rescue us from the evil one. We need saved. And he's saying, I'm big enough to rescue you. I've sent my son to do that. When we come to God like this, he's not saying, impress me. He's saying, talk to me. I want to hear all about it. He's not saying, show me what you did. I'll let you know if it's good enough. He's saying, show me who you are. Show me the beliefs that you hold about yourself right now. It doesn't matter if they're warped, messy, sloppy, sinful. He's saying, show me who you are right now so that I can have the opportunity to speak who you are, so I can give you your name, so I can infuse myself in you so that you can walk in confidence and not question your own self. This passage talked a lot about rewards. It says that's all the reward they'll ever get, because when we go to humankind to receive the things that we're chasing for and chasing, that's all the reward we're ever gonna get. That's how dopamine is designed. Go this pathway, end up here, all the praise, woohoo, that's it. And you're left having to retrace your steps to go back there to get the clap. He's saying the reward with me is freedom. Oh, how much do I want freedom? I want freedom to be myself. I don't want to have to go into public places and contort and manipulate myself so that people will like me. I just want to show up in places and be like, this is who I am. Anybody else want that? The other reward is himself. Himself. In a personable way designed just for you, because he created you. He knows you. Back in the passage, it says the reward that you'll get, like your Father in heaven who sees everything will reward you. Because in Jeremiah, he talks about like, I examine the heart and the mind. I see things as they really are, not as they pretend to be. He's saying, I see it all. I know what you want. I know what you're asking for. I know what you're striving for. I know what you want to accomplish. I know who you want people to say you are. And you don't have to go to all of these places, 17 different places to get the message. If you come to me, you can have it all in one place. How freeing is that? That I don't have to go here and then go here, and then I don't have to go here and over here and over here just to find my wholeness. I can come to him just as me. And he says, I can give it all to you. The reward is freedom, because we're not walking out being bound by human approval when we secretly retreat with him. He says, I have it all for you. The thing is, we don't have to earn it. That's the beautiful thing about Jesus. We don't have to earn it. We just have to receive. Now, receiving is easier said than done. But when you show up in that place where everything is still and quiet, you can just receive. You're freed up. Let's go ahead and stand to our feet. My question is, why does any of this matter? Like, why are we talking about this? The reason it matters is because our lives are a web of desire. Our lives are made up of things that we do, behaviors, and the behavior desire web is just real sticky. And Jesus says, like a good father, hey, I want you to be aware of this. I want you to be aware that all of these things inside you have you chasing for something, and I want to meet it. I want to give to you. You're my favorite son. You're my favorite daughter. I love seeing you thrive. I love seeing you grow. And I love seeing you being able to go back out into public after we've talked about motive and addressed that desire, that core desire, and then you just get to show off. I get to use you how I created you individually so perfectly to be going out and doing the thing and being the light and the salt of the world. That's why this matters. God, we say thank you that you are a good God and not a shrewd God. We say that you are worthy, that you're worthy of our time. You're actually worthy of us quieting the noise inside of our head, because that is where true freedom and reward come. God, thank you that you've given us a way, a path to healing. Thank you that you've outlined in your scriptures how to do this and what happens when we do. And I pray right now that all across here, we're all on a different spectrum of this walk of life. We may not even be able to name our true desires, the thing that we're chasing, but I ask that you would bring greater awareness to us, a greater awareness to our world and our senses that allow us to see glimpses of you.
Thanks so much for tuning into this message. I hope that it encouraged you and inspired your faith. If God is doing something in your life, would you take a moment and let us know? We want to connect with you, and we want to be able to pray for you. All you have to do is shoot us an email to hello@thex.church, or you can always send us a DM on one of our social media platforms. And if you know somebody that would also be encouraged by this very message, why not take a moment and just share it with them right now? And as always, I want to say thank you to every single person who so generously financially supports this ministry, so we can continue to get messages like these out to people all over the world. We believe God is building something special, and you're a significant part of it. Until next time, have a great day.